Beautiful, as usual. The tone in your voice just keeps getting better and better. Just such a beautiful evolution to watch and be witness to that. So, what do you want to talk about? We got a new year. Got any ideas? One of the things I'm going to do one of these Sundays, I decided, is to do kind of a Q&A. But since I don't want to be stumped or anything, I would ask for the questions in advance, and then I would pick the ones I wanted to answer, so that I could look so erudite and articulate in front of you. But ministry I was in some time ago in Sacramento was one of the most popular series they did. It was called Questions on the Quest. And people would ask, their deepest, most heartfelt, pressing, conundrums of life, and why is this and why is that. So I may be doing that shortly because I've been sort of feeling like I'm waiting for something to gel, and it hasn't quite gelled yet. And so sometimes those kind of practices, we were really just ask the deeper questions of life. It pushes us right up against, our resources of our faith and our understanding, and pushes us perhaps deeper than we've gone before when we're sort of just living within the comfort zone of the normal consciousness, of normal understanding. That it's really, life on life's terms sometimes that really calls our faith into a deeper realization. It asks us, to test it in the fire of difficulty and challenge. And in those circumstances, we find out what our faith is made of. We discover what we really believe about a higher power, about God. When we can give lip service to it, and it can all sound very wonderful and sanctimonious, when we're just sort of espousing it in a conceptual way and in a rote way, like the people that Jesus sort of made fun of, who would get out on the street corners and speak their prayers very loudly, so that everyone would notice how pious they were, and he would chide them, chastise them, because that's not the true faith. That is not what makes a difference in our life. All those kind of utterances are externalized versions of our faith. Those are just giving voice. But what's behind that? That's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm working on. I'm working to deepen my own sense of my relationship with a higher power. So that becomes not me and God out there somewhere, but there's a sense of the indwelling. There's a sense of the Spirit within that's activating my life, and that I am an expression of that. That our mission statement, I always look over here because we don't have those things anymore. I'm a creature of habit. But our mission statement says, is to realize, which is to notice, to recognize the divine, and then give expression to it. But if you're just expressing it, without realizing it, then it is just that rote kind of, redundant, meaningless kind of stuff. And that's not good anymore. That's not good enough. I don't think it is for you either. My sense of you is that you're not interested in just going through the motions of a spiritual life. This idea of going to church or, I pray every day, unless it has some connection to your deepest sense of who you are, and where it meets your life, where your life is asking your faith to meet it. It really, it's just so much, just another thing on our to-do list. And do we need any more on our to-do list? I don't. But I need more on my to-be list. You understand what I'm saying? Who am I? And who am I in relationship to the divine? How am I on a daily basis, hopefully hourly basis, most preciously momently basis, breath by breath, realizing that I walk with God, I walk with Spirit? Because it's in the moments when I realize that, it just colors my world. That is how we make our life new. That is how we transform our life. Oh yes, we work out here, we can redesign and redecorate and do all these things to make our life look different out here. We can manipulate circumstances and try to get things this way or that way. But unless we have a realization of this divine presence within us, of us knowing who and what we truly are, then we don't have the capacity to really bring a transformed mind and heart to our life, which is where change really happens. And if it doesn't even happen in the outer, it changes our mind, it changes our vision, it changes how we see our lives. Yes? Oh, this will be better for the video. Thank you. Put on a happy face. I don't know what, but this talk just generated more light. Have you noticed that? I don't know, was it me, or something's happened here. And must be you, you're just reflecting it up here. Thank you. Wherever I was, this is a lesson that I wanted to give without a lot of preparation, because I've been trying to live this lesson. And for the last 6 weeks, I've really deepened my spiritual practice. I'm spending upwards of an hour every morning in meditation and in prayer. And what I've noticed is that, oh yes, I notice I have a little less time in the morning. Yes, I've noticed that. But the fruits of this dedication to that sacred time has been that I'm much happier and more peaceful. And what I want you to hear about that, and what I'm so amazed by, because I preach this all the time, I teach this all the time, and yet here I am being amazed by something that I say probably every Sunday, is that nothing different has happened necessarily in the outer of my life. You know, my list of challenges, problems, situations, or whatever have not necessarily changed, but the way I see them has changed. And so my reaction to my life as a result of having this more connected sense of consciousness with the divine, feeling more that I am this whole being, that my true nature is unbounded, that it's not just limited to this body, mind, biology story that I think is my life. I'm more connected with something which feels vast and infinite and peaceful and loving. Having more of a sense of that, when I bring that to my life, when I look out at my life and my challenges and my circumstances, they look different. They take on the color and the hue of love and peace. And things don't have to change. People don't have to be any particular way necessarily. It's beginning to happen for me. So I really commend this to you. I invite you to, as you begin a new year, to think about how would you change your life if you were working strictly from the inside? Because, you know, I think it says in A Course in Miracles, it says, seek not to change the world, but change your thoughts about the world, and then the world will change. That's the kind of cause and effect I'd like to invite you into, because that is what mastery is really all about. You know, Jesus was telling the people of his time, you know, that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. They're going, yeah, when's it coming? No, he said, no, it's at hand. It's here, it's now, it's within. It's in the midst of you. Yeah, but when is it all going to get different? When's it all going to change? When are you going to throw the Romans out of Jerusalem? And when's all this lifestyle stuff going to get fixed? And he would say over and over again, and I don't know how many different parables and different sayings, you talk about the kingdom of God as a realization. That's a journey without distance, see? And the only way we're going to make this journey is to deepen our spiritual practice. No one's going to come along and touch us or say a word or do something that's going to give us this realization. He said, you got to go in the closet and close the door. You got to go within. It's just the way it is. And it works. And that's a good reason to consider it as you consider how you might resolve for the coming year. You can certainly make our list of things we want to do and dreams we have and vacations we want to take and new hobbies we want to take up and success goals and income goals and all those other fun things to do while we're playing out here in this field of infinite possibilities. But unless we change the consciousness within ourselves, even the most radical and amazing outer events taking place in our life will not fill that hole, will not give us that peace that passes human understanding. Because the kind of peace that passes human understanding is not condition dependent. We think if we got all of our ducks in a row and everyone doing it the way we want them to do it, treating us the way we want them to treat us, and just being the way we want them to be, that we would be peaceful. But that's the peace that is according to human understanding, and that mind that would find that particular set of circumstances to be the ideal way for me to finally be happy and feel this great well-being will guarantee it will not rest, and it will pick up a new whim or want or fancy that needs to happen, because although yesterday I thought that would make me happy or that would make me peaceful, today it's a little different, because the ego mind is a seek but not find mechanism. It continues, its job is to continually seek, to continually to reach out and grasp and try to find those circumstances, those situations, those things that seem like it's an outside-in sort of a problem-solving device. It's like, if I could only take this much in, if I could only get this, if this would only happen in my life. And that just satisfies, at the very surface mind. And that surface mind, again, just will find a whole new set of, it's going to write a new letter to Santa every day. I thought I wanted the PS3 or whatever, but what I really want is this, this, and this. We can play that game until finally we realize, and I think many of you already have, you have that realization that that's not it. It's not it. Jesus says, don't judge by appearances, but by righteous judgment. And the appearances are those things that rise and fall and come and go. But there is a part of you that does not rise and fall. There is a part of you that is constant, that is imperturbable, that is already connected with wholeness and love and peace and well-being. There is that part of you, and that's the part of you, that's the part of me that I'm trying to get familiar with, more familiar with. Because as I become more familiar with that part of me, then I realize that the circumstances and the conditions that I have laid upon the world as a precedent for my well-being is a joke. I realize that just can't work. It's illusory. It's a delusion of the mind. It was Einstein who said we have the optical delusion of our mind. We don't really get reality. We create a story in our head about what life is and what life's about and what we're supposed to do, and we keep rerunning that story, and we keep, rearranging deck chairs on this sinking ship, expecting that somehow it's going to all work out. But the ship is still sinking, and the sinking ship is the mind that thinks it can create a better reality outside of itself to finally realize this deep peace that we can only have spiritually. That's what got me into this work. That's what got me into unity, 20-some years ago, was that I had sort of played out that whole thing. And I've shared that with you many times, that, there's nothing wrong with going after what the world can offer you. It's just that if that becomes a god for you, in other words, if it becomes equivalent to what you would be your peace or your well-being or your sense of prosperity and true abundance, when it becomes that for you, then you're in trouble, because it can't give that to you. And when I sort of came to the end of the line, when I came to that realization that the world could not give me what I was really seeking, that was a turning point. That was a pivotal, defining moment in my life, because there was no other place to turn. I had done a 360 in the world of appearances, right? And nothing else. And so that when you stop looking outside, then there's only one place left. That's when we listen to those words, the kingdom of heaven is within. Close the door. Close out that mind that's constantly seeking. And what is real, what is true, will be revealed to you. It will be given. But not when you're trying to ask God to be your partner in some sort of a landscape redesign of your life. You can ask for that, but that isn't what's going to ultimately satisfy you. And yeah, you can change your life, and you can use the power of positive thinking, and you can use manifestation techniques. You can think positively and affirmatively and have all these things happen to you. There's nothing wrong with that. I still certainly work with that in my own life. But I recognize that that's not the bottom line. It doesn't get you to that place where seeking stops. And unless we get to that place where seeking stops, we're going to be right back in the manifestation game trying to find something new or somebody new in order to make us happy. So, does that make any sense? Okay. I think I'm done, actually. Get out of here early. Wouldn't that be nice? Go to art in the park. So, what I would say is that there are things that we can do besides prayer and meditation. And they fall in the category, I guess you would say, of positive psychology. But they also were things were taught by spiritual masters. And what they do is they tend to align us with the enlightened perspective. And an example would be expecting the good in life. And, Jesus, whenever he would have one of these demonstrations, the first thing he would do is he would look up and he would give thanks, right? And that always preceded this sort of amazing transformation that would take place afterwards. So we recognize that even an enlightened being is giving thanks. Now, why is he giving thanks? He's giving thanks because at some level, the good is already present. The answer is already at hand. The kingdom of heaven is within. We're giving thanks not for some outer manifestation, but that there is a presence of something that is already so good and so beautiful and so complete that there can be no want, there can be no seeking. And out of that consciousness of abundance, of knowing that all is well in this kingdom of God, out of that, we bring that to our life, even when we have lack, even when we have apparent limitation, even when things seem to be missing. We bring that consciousness of all is well. A bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. You know what I mean? Because the ego keeps saying, well, yeah, but I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. But in the infinite, invisible realm of spirit, all is well. There is a part of you that is already made in the image and likeness. And that part of you is already whole, seeks nothing. So when Jesus said, gives thanks, thank you, thank you, thank you, he's giving thanks for the work that God has already done, not what God is about to do. Does that make sense? So we're realizing that what the Spirit has already done for us is creating us in this image and likeness and offering us this spiritual capital that we have, that we're infused with it, that we're, that the bank is full, that it's a bank that we never go to. We don't make any withdrawals. We don't express it. We forget that we have this money in the bank. We keep looking for it out here. It's like the beggar who's sitting on this box, year after year, and this man comes up to him and says, the beggar says, would you give me some money? And he says, no. He said, but what are you sitting on? He says, it's my box. And he says, well, what's in the box? He says, there's nothing in the box. He said, well, have you ever looked in the box? And he said, no. He says, let's open up the box. So he opens up the box, and there is all this gold in the box. So he's sitting on his treasure. And that's what you and I do when we don't tap into that inner resource that we have. We're not realizing what we have. So giving thanks is one thing we can do. Gratitude is so powerful. I've mentioned this to you before, that it's the one way we can raise our baseline of happiness that may tend to just fall into a default place that's no matter what happens in life. But if we want to raise the baseline, gratitude is the one thing that will do that. Because what does gratitude do? It notices everything that's working in our life, which is a bad day for the ego because its job is to notice everything that's missing, broken, or not working. That's the ego's job. But the Spirit's job is to open our eyes, to give us this spiritual understanding that shows us what is already present. And the more we bring this idea that I already have, then we bring that energy that will have to manifest in the outer. It has to. As within, so without. As above, so below. What we hold in consciousness in a deep and a profound way, which we can do with gratitude, it must demonstrate in some way in our life. Jesus said, when you pray, pray believing that you have received, and it will be made, it will be done unto you. So that That's one thing you can do. And the other thing we can do is I'm sure it's coming. It's coming. I better go look at my notes. I'm just grateful that I have something to look at here. Forgiveness. No wonder I forgot. Who wants to talk about that? Isn't that a fun topic? Forgiveness is, it's a 9-week lifetime event series. But there's a real easy version of forgiveness that I've been working with lately. And it's really just to allow this spiritual intention to go before you when you have a resentment. In other words, it's not analysis. A lot of people think forgiveness is, well, when I finally look at the situation and I can figure out why that happened and why she did that and why he did that and all that kind of, trying to make it logical to the rational mind, that is not going to get you anywhere. That part of your mind will always stay hooked into it. But what you need is a higher power, folks, when it comes to forgiveness, especially on the bigger ones. And so what I usually do is I think of a situation where I can just feel my stomach clutch, when I think about an individual or an event that happened in my life. And I just say, open. If I feel it here, I pretend like there's a window there. And I just open that window and I say, God, take this. I don't want this. This doesn't feel very good. This can't be right. This can't be true. This can't be your will. So take this. And just sense sort of that energy just sort of moving out from you. Or maybe you feel it in your heart. And you open a window to your heart and just see this energy go out, this negative energy go out. And you can actually have a visceral shift from doing it that way. It's very powerful and it's very simple. So much better than, well, they were doing the best they could. And, that whole story we want to make up to sort of make it okay. And go sit with your therapist if you want to do that, but if you want to shift, and I think we all do, then work with something that shifts it quickly. And do this before your meditation. Do gratitude, do forgiveness, and then get quiet. Because when you're in a state of gratitude and forgiveness, you are really open. Your heart and your mind is open. And then you can really enter into that spaciousness, that open to the infinite, that part of you that is changeless, and it is the peace that passes human understanding. That you now have sort of removed the blocks. You've removed the impediments to that kind of realization. So that's what I have for you today. It's the way to start off the year, is remembering that God's work in you has already been accomplished in the most fundamental sense. That you already have within you this kingdom, you have within you this peace, this love, this joy, this wholeness. And that if you're not experiencing it, it isn't because he's doing it this way or she's not doing it that way or you don't have the job you want. That those are conditional dependent kind of things. And yes, you can still play around with those parts of your life, and that's all good. And I'm going to play around with mine too. But when it comes down to the fundamental well-being that I think you and I want to have, that we have to realize that those are not impediments. And we have to do our work. We have to take care of our side of the street in this transaction with the divine, which, by the way, is unconditionally given by God, but we place the conditions on the realization. Unconditionally given by God, we create the conditions. We create the condition that must be met before we realize it. That's not God's will. That's our erroneous will laying over this eternal willingness of the divine. So let's take a moment in prayer. As we breathe into this lesson and we allow it to find its way into a place of truth and wholeness within us, a place of resonance, we honestly ask ourselves, what is my part in spiritual growth? What am I to do? What am I to not do? What am I to give up? And our burning bowl experience the other day was two-part. It was releasing what no longer serves us, which might be an impediment. And once we've done that, once we're clear, once we're open, once we're receptive, once we're uncluttered, when we're that open vessel, then we can ask for that divine will, that vision, possibility for our lives, and know that it will be a reflection of our deepest values, our deepest intentions for this life. Something that will really make a difference in how we experience this life while we're still walking on earth. Not only for ourselves, but for all beings, for all our loved ones, our family, our friends. So how is Spirit guiding you this year in terms of this inner journey? Sit for a moment in the quiet and think about, what do you need to give up? What practice would facilitate this deeper work for you? Listen. Be willing to listen. Close the door of that, the mind that always wants things a certain way, and just listen to the still small voice that knows you deeply and loves you. We're just grateful for this eternal willingness that surrounds us now, that is always there with us, that there is a divine will and it's seeking to know itself in and through you as your life. So we just allow that intention to continue to move through us this week, to bubble up through all manner of circumstance and conditions, reminding us that nothing can keep us from the love of God. Nothing can keep us from the peace that passes human understanding. Nothing can keep us from divine possibility. We are God's beloved children in whom He is pleased, whom He embraces, and whom He supports in growth, development, and unfoldment. Maybe this be the way we start a new year, for all the good it can be for us and for all beings everywhere. Thank you. So be it. Amen.